Season 3, No More Nice series. This episode is entitled The Version of Me or You They Were Comfortable With. What happens when our healing changes the version of you people once benefited from? Because some relationships felt easier when you over-explained, you overextended, you overgave, you were willing to let people leech off of you, you over-accommodated, you stayed emotionally available and kept abandoning yourself sacrificially to maintain a connection that you never really need to be connected to in the first place. But healing and a healing journey changes relation dynamics. And sometimes the hardest realization is discovering that some people were attracted to, our emotional labor that they could leech and suck out of you more than they were attached to us. Today we're talking about hypervigilance. What is that? What's the definition of hypervigilance? Group dynamics, people pleasing, transactional one-way leeching relationships, social conformity, emotional extraction, and what happens when healing disrupts emotionally unhealthy environments. Hey y'all, I'm Madison Samone Chase, also known as Miss Chase. I was raised by an incredible single mom who is my biggest fan and my best friend for real. I am a certified celebrity personal trainer, fitness and wellness expert, and sports and entertainment media host. I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, raised in Dallas, Texas, and built in Los Angeles, the city of angels. I trained at Juilliard in New York City with the School of American Ballet, becoming the world's only 3-time ESPN Miss Fitness champion, who's appeared in over 450 fitness DVDs. Yes, that is a lot of DVDs. And the first of those 450 was led by celebrity trainer Gunnar Peterson, the GOAT, known for training the Kardashian family. As a certified personal trainer and group fitness expert, I've worked with Robert Patterson of Twilight and Batman, Chris Tucker of Rush Hour, and Amber Riley of Glee, Dancing with the Stars, and The Masked Singer champion. And as a sports and entertainment media host, I've had the joy of interviewing Richard Branson, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Tyler Perry, and Tiana Taylor, to name a few of my favorite interviews and some of my clients that I've worked with to get amazing results for them on their health and wellness journey. I share my story, one, to not to my own horn, but to give myself credit, because sometimes we don't give ourselves credit. And so this is me giving myself credit and advocating for my voice and the things that I've accomplished in my life, but really to also honor the sacrifices my mom planted in me so that I could blossom and flourish into the woman I am still becoming. So if you're listening at home, pull up a real chair. If you're listening online, pull up a digital chair and grab yourself some hot or cold herbal tea, and welcome to my cozy home of Cut to the Chase at 8, now C2TC8, H.E.R Circle, which stands for High Performing Empowered Women and some men who are ready to thrive. It is a 15-minute micro-learning moment for macro living. And I am so overjoyed that you are here and you are listening, because this is where we explore life, spirit, mind, and body through lived experiences, yours and mine, and intentional growth. So join me daily for just 15 minutes a day, twice a day, that's it, at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central, because this is your daily pause for a cause, for clarity, for wellness, for allowing grace in this space, whatever space you're in, whatever season you're in, and for intentional decision making. Each episode, my offer to you is 3 keys and 1 reflection question. My prayer and my hope is that the 3 keys are something practical, something grounded, and something we could sit with and carry with us throughout our day. So let's take a breath together. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready. Let's get set. And let's grow. One thing I am beginning to realize is that hypervigilance is not simply being too sensitive. Hypervigilance is often a protection response that we have innately learned. It's the nervous system learning, I need to stay emotionally and physiologically alert to stay emotionally and or physiologically safe. If I had to explain hypervigilance to a 5th grader, I'd say hypervigilance is when your brain and body feel like they always have to stay on alert, not just low alert, but high alert to make sure everything is okay around you and with you. And in groups, that could look like constantly reading people's faces, watching and reading their reactions, watching and reading their silence and sometimes the things that they don't say, watching and reading their tone, watching and reading their body language, and trying to make sure nobody is upset, and trying not to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and trying to stay included, and trying to avoid becoming the topic of discussion where you are not honored or celebrated, but you are just tolerated, and or trying to avoid rejection. It's like emotionally reading the room all the time. And a 5th grader may understand it like this. You're checking to see if your friends are whispering. You're checking to see if your friend doesn't want you on camera in the group setting because they just don't want you there. And you're worrying if people are mad and trying really hard to fit in. And changing behavior so nobody gets upset, or being nervous about saying the wrong thing, or trying to make everyone happy all the time. That simplicity matters because many adults are still functioning from those same emotional survival patterns, just like when you were in the 5th grade. Those survival patterns don't change, right? So what becomes clearer here is that prolonged hypervigilance slowly trains the body to stay in social threat detection all the time. The nervous system begins tracking who responded, who didn't, who shifted tone, who got quiet, who seems aligned with who may repeat what I said, and who may suddenly turn the emotional temperature of the room because they didn't like something that you said. And so instead of addressing you directly, they talk around you and talk about you. And what happens physiologically is your jaw can tighten before speaking. Your chest can brace before responding. Your stomach drops a little after one short text. The shoulders may stay lifted. The breath becomes shallow. The mind replays conversations, whether they're direct conversations and or text messages or voicemails, long after the moment has passed. And it isn't because someone is being dramatic, but because the body is trying to predict whether belonging is still safe, whether that friendship is still safe, whether it is a friendship, whether people are being friendly or just familiar. It's kind of like a smoke detector becoming so sensitive that it starts going off even when there isn't a real fire. This is what prolonged emotional hypervigilance can feel like. And hypervigilance quietly shows up in many environments. In church settings, it may look like constantly trying to discern the shift in the spiritual presence, trying to avoid becoming the gossip, trying to stay accepted within that group, and monitoring who suddenly becomes distant, cold, quiet, or exclusionary. They exclude you. In group text with friends you've known since middle school, it may look like rereading text messages or overthinking the silence, or even a birthday text that seems a little off kilter. and wondering why someone responded so dryly or they didn't respond at all, and trying to interpret tone through text, or feeling emotionally drained and trying to understand what shifted in this group. The group dynamics feel different, they seem different, and they are different. And that is when the room starts revealing itself. Because people pleasing inside groups can quietly become emotional conformity. Some people become more loyal to influence, or the person who has the most influence in that group, than they are loyal to the truth or even getting to the truth. And emotionally immature group dynamics and emotionally immature people, and immaturity does not have an age. It doesn't. And just because you are a senior citizen or a member of AARP, that doesn't mean that you naturally are mature. And sometimes in these immature group dynamics where people get rewarded for social alignment over honest discernment. Someone may not even agree with the loudest voice in the room, but if that voice carries influence, or if it's the loudest voice that bullies people, that's more popular, that has more social positioning or socioeconomic positioning or emotional control, others may slowly align themselves with it to avoid becoming the next target of that exclusion. And that fungus among us will always spoil the bunch every single time. And that realization is uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because some emotionally unhealthy environments spread dysfunction quietly through bullying, silence, Christian cursing, people pleasing, fear, group thinking, social hierarchy, indirect communication, and emotional self protection or self preservation. People stop asking what is true and start asking, who do I need to stay aligned with to remain emotionally protected in this group? And this is where the body tells on the pattern, because emotionally unhealthy environments are exhausting to navigate. And the body may begin rehearsing conversations, editing responses, delaying text or not texting at all, overusing emojis to soften messages, laughing when something does not actually feel funny, agreeing before checking in internally, or staying quiet to avoid social tension. And that is not peace. That is emotional self-protection. And sometimes hypervigilance develops because we've repeatedly experienced relational inconsistencies. Like reconnecting with someone after almost 15 years and immediately hearing, oh, we're besties, only to later realize the connection may have been more about leeching access, networking, influence, convenience, usefulness, your resources, or emotional extraction than genuine reciprocal friendship. And that can sting. Because emotionally immature people or insecure people sometimes create premature emotional closeness before genuine trust has actually been built. It is a very predatory behavior. And when emotional intensity appears before emotional consistency, the nervous system stays alert, trying to determine, is this emotionally safe? Is this genuine? Is this reciprocal? Is this stable? Is this authentic? The more honest question becomes, how many relationships have survived through emotional extraction instead of mutual emotional care? And our healing journeys change us because eventually we stop volunteering for transactional, one-sided, emotional, leeching contracts disguised as friendships, or people putting a label on it as besties. And that relationship and that realization changes the versions of us that people were once comfortable with. Because some people were comfortable with over-explaining, over-giving, emotional, available us, over-functioning us, people-pleasing us, emotional, agreeable us, and emotionally exhausted us. But on your healing journey, our healing journey disrupts those dynamics, especially once we stop making people emotional priorities while remaining emotionally optional to them. So this brings me to the 3 keys. Key number 1, hypervigilance is often a nervous system protection response rooted in emotional unpredictability, social instability, inconsistent care, transactional relationships, or chronic emotional monitoring, which means some emotional exhaustion is not weakness. It is the physiological cost of constantly trying to discern whether belonging is emotionally safe. Which brings me to key number 2. Emotionally unhealthy group dynamics often reward conformity over discernment. And when people become more loyal to influence than truth, emotionally immature environments can quietly spread dysfunction through silence, people pleasing, bullying, fear of exclusion, indirect communication, and emotional self protection. That fungus among us will spoil the bunch, which brings me to key number 3. Healing changes us because eventually we stop volunteering for transactional, one-sided, emotional leeching contracts disguised as relationships with labels that are premature. And while that realization may initially feel painful, disappointing, or it could sting, and sometimes isolating and or lonely, it also creates space for healthier reciprocity, emotionally honest discernment, and relationships rooted in mutual care instead of emotional extraction. The one reflection question I'm sitting with is, where in my life have I normalized emotional hypervigilance, group conformity, being the victim of bullying, emotionally overfunctioning, transactional belonging, or emotionally uneven relationships in order to maintain connection, acceptance, approval, or emotional safety? So before you go, thank you so much. It truly has been an honor sharing this time with you. It has been an honor to sit with you. And I'm continuing to pray for grace in this space for you and for me. So let's quickly revisit today's 3 keys. Key number 1, hypervigilance is often a nervous system protection response rooted in emotional unpredictability and chronic emotional monitoring. Key number 2, emotionally unhealthy group dynamics often reward conformity over discernment. Key number 3, healing changes us because eventually we stop volunteering for transactional, one-sided, emotional leeching contracts disguised as relationships. And our one reflection question, where in my life have I normalized emotional hypervigilance, group conformity, emotional overfunctioning, transactional belonging, or emotionally uneven relationships or unequally yoked relationships in order to maintain some kind of connection, acceptance, approval, or emotional safety? If today's episode offered you clarity, grounding, or a pause for a cause you didn't know you needed, or if there's anything that I've shared today that pricked your heart or lit a spark, please subscribe and share this with someone you care about. And leave a comment so that this isn't a monologue, but a dialogue. And please leave a 5-star rating if you feel led, or send me a text. It helps the space to grow and reach others. Now let's close with one breath. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. and again at 8 p.m. Central. This is Cut to the Chase at 8, C2TC8. Her Circle, high-performing, empowered women and men ready to thrive. I'm Madison Samone Chase. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready, set, grow, and go, and be great. Blessings to you and yours. Until tomorrow.